So the implications of around Earth came with the territory, came with this insight territory. The implications that I'm talking about here are not applications. They come with this territory. All right? All of these happen simultaneously together. So they're not like you need to pick one out and try to do that, or pick another one out and try to do that. They co-occur. They co-occur. They're built in to the logic of how you psychologically work, the truth of that. Now, one of the things that happened for me, and one of the things that I've seen happen for anyone who had this insight, no matter whether they had it once or they've had it a million times, every time it's been helpful, like I said, but every time it happened, you know what happened is it took the misunderstanding that they were embroiled in, that they were subject to, that they were being, that they were experiencing. It took that misunderstanding off their mind. It popped out of their illogic, and they settled down into a logic of where their feelings were actually coming from. They knew where they were coming from. And when you know where they're coming from, you simultaneously know where they're not coming from. And that's very important to you. It's very important to anybody. Last night, for example, I had an episode where I was kind of thinking about something and thinking about this and thinking about that, and my wife said to me, how are you doing? I said, well, not so good. She said, why? I said, well, I've got this on my mind and that on my mind and this other thing on my mind. And she asked me the question. She says, well, does it seem to you that your feelings are coming from your thinking, or are they coming from what you're thinking about? And I laughed, because I thought, that's a really good question. You know, it's a question that I ask a lot of people all the time, but when she asked it to me, it woke me up. It brought it back into focus. I thought, I know, this is coming not from these issues, not from these problems, not from these dilemmas that I was in a wrangle about. They were coming from my thinking. My feeling was coming from the thinking I was doing about those issues. And that really helped me. And what happened is I quieted down. Because if you think your feelings are coming from somewhere that they're not, it's going to multiply on you. And you're going to have a lot of thinking that you don't need, that's irrelevant and that's unnecessary and illogical and reactive. And you're going to be subject to that. You're going to be experiencing it. So your feelings are telling you in that moment that you're about your thinking. But if you think it's telling you about what you're thinking about, you'll get lost in it. If you get lost in it, you can't quiet down. You can't, because someone tells you to quiet down when your head is filled up with all these threats, insecurities, and possibilities. You'll say, well, why? I can't quiet down. I've got all this on my mind. You get the insight of where your feelings are coming from. It is guaranteed it will help you, and you will quiet down. It renders obsolete an incredible array of thinking every time you insightfully see it. So it quiets you down as an effect of understanding, not as something you need to try to quiet down. You can't help but quiet down. As I started to see more of this, I noticed, and my wife and I were talking, she said, you know, I can't believe how quiet my mind is. I said, you know, I'm noticing the same thing. There's so many things that I used to weigh in on and perseverate on and ruminate on and think about, worry about, a little of this, a little of that, a little kind of judgmentalism, a little kind of reactivity, and it just went away. It went away because the illogic of where my feeling were actually coming from. It wasn't coming from that content. It was coming from the way I was thinking about that content. And I started to get those little insights. One little here, a little there, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 times a day. And that reset me. And it brought me back to reality. Because I was in a fiction. When you're in a fiction and you give fuel to it, it multiplies on you in a hurry. And you get unstable. You can't help but. Because you're going to get insecure because it feels like your feelings are being determined by what's on your mind. It's not, but it looks like that. That is a very important implication of this true logic about where your feelings are actually coming from.